Training camp just started and already a huge loss. My goodness. So the Carolina Panthers announced today that they have cut Josey Jewell, the outlaw. And I'll be honest with you, I was out with my family and I saw this and my immediate reaction was triggered. Like I was pissed. But then once I found out the reason, I was like, oh, okay, I understand that. So according to CarolinaPanthers.com, the Panthers released linebacker Josey Jewell on Tuesday after the veteran continues to experience concussion symptoms. So we've seen this movie before. Luke Kuechly, right? There's been other situations like this in the league with other teams, players that have retired early as a result of not wanting to, experience these kind of symptoms. And when you play a position like linebacker, an extremely violent position, a position where you're literally running as fast as you can at somebody to stop a tackle, whether it's to, stop someone behind the line of scrimmage via sack or in the run game or catching somebody outside on the boundary, regardless, it's violent, like extremely violent, like probably next to linebacker, maybe one of the toughest positions to play, not the hardest mentally. Well, I would take that back. Some of that mental toughness as well and your ability, like intellectually, but just from the physical perspective, like football is a tough game, but that position, man, you are banging paws all day long. But according to team spokesperson, the 30-year-old Jewell wanted to prioritize health and recovery and be considerate of his teammates. And the move allows the Panthers to move forward with a group of players who are able to get all the practice reps when camp opens tomorrow. If all goes well with his recovery, he could return to the team at some point in the future. Huge, huge, huge news, right? He signed a 3-year contract during the 2024 offseason and started 12 games last year. He was second on the team with 97 tackles and also had 7 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, huge sacks. One really big sack while we were overseas in Germany against the New York Giants, and 1 interception in that game as well. He missed the last 2 games of the season because of a concussion suffered in Week 16 against the Cardinals. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The Panthers signed former Rams starter Christian Roseboom on the first day of free agency and still have 2024 third-rounder Trevin Wallace with starting experience. It'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward, right? As far as like who they sign, because this loss, and this is part of the reason that I was upset about it when I initially heard the news, we're already kind of thin at linebacker to begin with, right? I would say that it's probably the biggest position of need that we addressed it with Roseboom, but there was a lot left to be desired, right? Now, maybe there's not a lot on the market out there. Maybe they didn't see a lot in the draft that they wanted to go with. That's why they went in the direction that they did. And I love the draft. I'm glad that we picked the players that we did. But this was one position that we did kind of look at and say, maybe a little thin. I do believe in Trevin Wallace. And clearly Dan Morgan does too, right? Dan Morgan has said the like, right? And not just that. If anybody would know, it's him, right? So he's spoken extremely highly of him, and he said something today during the press conference that kind of leads to this fact, not just about this position, but other positions on the field. Check it out.
Last year and this year in between, mini camp and training camp, I know you just had a bunch of guys come in for workouts. Do you see any alterations that you can make kind of over the next week or so?
I think it's going to be continuous throughout the season. Like, I think we're always going to look for ways to improve the roster. But sometimes, the answer is right on your own roster, and it's about us developing our players and just continuing to, nail that into the coaches that, we got to develop our young core. And I think that's the way to go. But again, we're always going to be curious and look on the outside, and if we feel like somebody can upgrade us and it's smart, then we'll look into it.
And he's right. Maybe that guy is on the roster. When we look at guys like safeties, right? Safety is a huge position of need, especially the free safety position. And, a lot of people think that we kind of got the same guy with Trevin Morgan, Lathan Ransom. And so, Damani Richardson, he's a guy that's going to get a ton of reps, going to basically get all the reps, right? And I believe they really believe in him. He played some good ball last year. I think that this is an opportunity for him to come out and develop, so it remains to be seen what happens there. But there's a couple of names here, some of the younger guys that I'm really excited to watch during the preseason. Guys like Claudin Cherylus, right? He's a journeyman. Jacoby Wyndham, he played some good snaps last year himself, had the only hip drop tackle penalty, if I'm not mistaken, in the league last year. And then Tuasuvi Nomura, sorry if I messed that up. But, man, I'm talking lightning rod. Might be a little bit undersized, right? But man, just looking at him and the play, it's a lot of Frankie Louvu-esque energy, right? Not just because of the Samoan heritage, but because of the electric play. So I'm excited to see what happens with those young guys and the opportunities that they get. But yeah, guys, this is a huge loss. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I mean, I'm one of those people that thinks the linebacker is such an integral part of the defense that, especially when you have the kind of camaraderie that you have with the defensive coordinator in Ejiro Evero coming from Denver to when you came here to Carolina, it's going to be a huge loss. 97 tackles is nothing in 12 games, at that is nothing. It's not easy to replace, right? So I look forward to seeing what they do as far as the moves, if they go out and, look at the free agency market and see if there's anybody out there they want to bring in just to kind of, get some reps and see if, something could happen there. Or if they just kind of say, you know what, hey, we're going to go Trevin Wallace, right? Once upon a time, Trent Green gets hurt. We are going with Kurt Warner. So, hey, we are going with Trevin Wallace. But either way, let me know what you think below. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. This is John from the One Carolina Show. Camp has started, y'all. Keep pounding.